So you guys want to look at some old V8 German cars? Well, I have one, and let me tell y'all, they didn't come with some hiccups. You know what I mean? But I mean, all in all, I mean, hey, I really haven't had major issues. But I'm gonna go over some of the issues of my ownership. Basically, I almost had it for a year. I got it back in January of 2023. Right now, it is currently November 2023, so almost a year. Put a decent amount of miles on it. I had it at 109,000. Now I'm at about 114,000. So I put on about 5,000 miles. So and most definitely it has been a very good car. I can't complain. Obviously, these are just my issues with my car. Common issues that I've had so far. Nothing major, nothing, crazy or anything like that, you know what I mean? First things first, before I want to get into it, every car is different, there, it can vary, kind of do your research, but for me, this is what I had, issues that I've dealt with this car so far, and hopefully, let's try to not have any more in the future, but like I said, to me, it's minor, you know what I mean? But the first issue, and I guess it all leads together, is actually the radiator. The radiator, when I first got it, when I took delivery of the car and I drove it home, of course, I noticed it was leaking. There was a hole in the radiator and I had to get it replaced, which in turn was a pretty easy, the radiator was only like $50, replace that, boom, boom, that's good. But then I started noticing I was losing coolant, not every time, but I would have to fill it up maybe every like 2 weeks or so. And I'm like, where's the coolant going? And I know I don't have like a head gasket leak, no weird smoke or anything coming out of the tailpipe or nothing, so I'm like, what is going on? Come to find out, hopefully I can get it here, that there's actually a quick disconnect clip for this upper radiator hose that was actually leaking. So I actually had to replace this upper radiator hose, this hose right here, which also connects into the coolant tank. So when I replaced this, the upper radiator hose, this, as you can see, this black right here that actually holds on to this tube, this actually broke off into the old upper radiator hose, and I had to get a new coolant tank. So almost safe to say, I almost got a whole new coolant system. So, I mean, that was honestly probably the major issue that I've had so far. It's just like the coolant, but I mean, it's an older car from 2005, parts on this is gonna, especially plastic is gonna, go bad, and, trust me, it was bad. When I pulled this off, and I was like, man, what happened to the black piece that was on the radiator? And when it was in this hose on the old one, it just crumbled. It was bad, but I mean, it was all easy fixes, all cheap, actually. The most expensive part was the radiator. The hose was only like $10, and then the coolant tank was like $27. So, all in all, like, it was not that bad. The next issue that I actually have is, when I got the car, I actually noticed that my remote for the car was not working properly. So like I always had to like press extra hard and really to get the car unlocked, and I didn't, it's an issue because you want to come up to your car and you want it to be unlocked, but I had to like keep like pressing it, holding it. I changed the battery, and I was like, you know what, fuck this, I'm getting a whole new remote. This is bullshit. I'm getting a whole new key fob. I'm like, okay, I'm not dealing with this. Went to Mercedes. I was like, how much is a key fob for my car? Oh, man. Oh, man. $600. That's what I paid for this motherfucker. For this. Granted, it is the updated, well, I guess we shouldn't say updated, but for my generation, an updated key, because the old one was using the Daimler, Chrysler key, and this one is, you know, the Mercedes, you know, brand. So I mean, it's definitely, you know, looks a lot nicer with the chrome, and it actually works, you know. So like if I lock it, it locks now. You know, if I unlock it, it unlocks. You know, beautiful. You know, and I can actually you know, unlock my trunk and then, you know, set the alarm and things like that. But all in all, I mean, that's not like a huge issue, but definitely like a nuisance. You know what I mean? So the next thing that I ran into, and I kind of said this in my first video, is the top. I didn't realize that the top leaked until I drove it in the rain. Well, actually, I was at the movies, and when we came out, you know, it rained really bad. So, and it was still raining. So then we got in the car, and then I noticed there was like water dripping on my shoulder from here, like just dripping on my shoulder. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? And I'm like, oh man, my top, it's leaking. And it leaks from like right here in this area. So I will probably address this hopefully when it's a little bit nicer. I'm definitely gonna look into this. I try not to drive this in a heavy rain, but I mean, I really don't want to drive this in the rain really anyways. I actually have another vehicle that, yeah, I probably should make a video on. I will probably actually make a video. It's actually a Kia Sorento, but I've done a lot of stuff to it. I'm pretty much done with the car. Well, everything that I want to do with it. So I'll make a video on that and see how you guys feel about that. Now, there's a couple more things I want to talk about. So the first one is the brakes, but the brakes, I actually just replaced the pads up front because I just needed the pads. The rotors were fine. Don't really know if they're gonna squeak. I feel like the squeaking noise was coming from the rear, but you know, it coming from the rear or the front, I mean, it's a Mercedes. You could, or it could be an Audi. It could be a BMW. Everybody's gonna say the brakes squeak. I mean, it's just the pads that they use, the high performance pads that they use in these cars. You can lubricate them and do what you can to try and, you know, minimize it or reduce it for a period of time. But they say it comes back. Hopefully it doesn't. We'll see. And another thing is actually something. Nah, I wouldn't say recently new, but something I am kind of like slacking on is actually the SRS light that comes on in this. So right there it says restraint system defective, drive to workshop, which is referring to the airbag, but not this airbag and not that airbag. So it's actually referring to the passenger side airbag over here that I have been slacking on fixing. It's saying it's like a high voltage, so I'm pretty sure there's like a wire that got tangled up, and you know, from going back and forth from my girlfriend being in the seat. But for the most part, I mean, it's not that big of a deal. I actually have a scanner. I have a whole Mercedes-Benz tool scanner, so that's why I was able to read that SRS code to figure out what it was. I just haven't really got to the point of fixing it, you know. But it's just annoying because like that's literally the only light that's on here, and I just hate seeing, you know, who wants to see lights on their dash? One thing I do want to add on to is that oil consumption. Now, this is a German car, you know, it's going to consume oil. Now, I would do my own oil changes, but I get free oil changes. So why the hell would I do my own oil changes if I can get it done for free? And when I get low on oil, or if I need a quart, or if I need 2 quarts, or whatever, they top it off for free. Free. You're not gonna beat that. You can't beat free. So all in all, you know, I feel like I definitely like the deal. I actually recommend people, if you do get older German cars, I will say this: if you get one, probably look for a suitable or reputable like oil change shop, because most of the time they will give you free oil top-offs. And especially with, you know, our German cars, you know, I mean, they love oil, and you can't beat that. I mean, a quart for these can be vary between, like, you know, well, depending on where you go, but let's say you just go into like AutoZone or something, you could be looking at like, you know, between $7 to $14, depending on what you get. You know what I mean? Because some people like to say OEM, and some people, you know, they just don't care. You know what I mean? But for the most part, you know, owning these cars, and it's not even just Mercedes. Owning the BMW, owning the Audi, you're gonna have your hiccups. You know, it's just the part of the game of owning these cars. You know, they're beautiful cars. They run amazing. And like I said before, if you just take care of it, man, if you just take care of these cars, man, they are going to take care of you. I can't even express that enough to you guys. I really can't. So, but maybe in the next video that I post, maybe you guys will see the Kia. That'll be interesting to make, and I really want to know how you guys are going to feel about that. Also, you guys, I do want to say something before I go. I am going to have a reaction channel, so stay tuned to that. Eventually, I'm going to get a webcam for that, and don't worry, they're definitely going to be funny videos. I'll catch you guys later.